Hello, me batters. Welcome to Customer Experience R&R here in the West Country. It's time for some warblings. Ryan, I've got something to say to you. It's our 10th anniversary.
Oh my goodness me! Just before we
I
move
know.
on, what's Alomi Warblers mean? What does that mean?
Hello, me.
Is that a Dorset term?
It's an amalgamation of everything southwestern, you see. I don't know. You'll get it all mixed up. I have no idea. But if you watch a certain show about the Salisbury poisonings recently, apparently all people in Wiltshire speak like Bristolians. I'm not quite sure
I
how
did
that's
notice that. I was watching it last night. It's a very good watch, by the way. Very good. I was
It
looking
is
for your house, but I didn't see it. Anyway, yeah, 10 years,
10 episodes.
10 episodes. My goodness me. Again, I feel I owe all of our listeners and watchers a huge debt of gratitude for putting up with our warblings. Yeah, so we had a bit of a warble this week. We've got a rate corker coming.
Yeah, let me know. Let the listeners know all about that, and then we'll hear from the
Well,
very man.
okay, so this week I had the privilege of carrying on with our theme of talking to our clients and our friends. And this week we talked to Rick Turner, and Rick is the owner of a really great, amazing actually attraction in North Devon called the Big Sheep. And many of you will have known and heard of it and seen his references to his flock up there. But on a serious note, it's a great listen because Rick takes us through the trials and tribulations that he's had of trying to keep his business afloat in the last few months. The challenges that's given him, the challenges of how he's going to reopen and socially distance people, and most importantly, and again a theme, Rich, of what we've been talking about in the last few weeks and months about keeping his team safe and therefore keeping his customers safe. So it's a really good listen, and I hope you enjoy it.
Great. Here we go.
Okay, well, good morning, Rick. Great to have you warbling with us this morning.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, talking to us about your experience as a business owner, as an attraction owner, and how it's been for you in these past few months. So share a bit about you, Rick, and how it's been over these last few months.
Well, I think like most business people, it's been a massive roller coaster, especially in our hospitality industry. So I run a small theme park up in North Devon called the Big Sheep. And I'm also involved with regional tourism. So I'm currently the chair of the Southwest Tourism Alliance. So been involved a lot with the sort of regional recovery now, looking at regional messages, looking at sending information out to the industry. So we have meetings twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday with most of the business hospitality people from the Southwest, including Visit Cornwall, Visit Devon, Visit Somerset, Devon Cornwall Business, most of the sort of major regional sort of sectors for different hospitality bits. And also we have Visit England come on the call, Torbay Development Agency, and also we have DCMS as well. So head of UK tourism is on the call on a Thursday.
Wow. So some big hitters there. And what's the general sense of how it's been?
Well, I think it's challenging. I think is probably the way to put it. It's the uncertainty is a thing that I find really, really difficult. You know, you sort of go, have a high for a few days, and then you sort of you sink into a bit of unsurety about what's going on. We're obviously hemorrhaging a lot of money. We sort of say that the everyone in hospitality has zero income, and it's just the bigger the business, the more overheads you have and the more money you're losing. And obviously as a business with over 51,000 rateable value, we were ineligible for any help. So lots of businesses have had some funding, but we haven't had any, although we're trying to get some now, which hopefully we can do.
So it's been a really tough time for you by the sounds of it. And how have you managed, you and your team, how have you managed through that personally?
I mean, to be honest, everyone's been furloughed. So we've had a single person looking after the site, looking after the animals, doing 7 days a week, and everyone else has been away. We just made a decision that we couldn't afford to have any more people here. when we weren't quite sure when we're going to reopen. We hope to reopen now on the 4th of July. So that's the date we're looking at. We were a bit disappointed that they didn't announce a few days ago that we could open with the zoos. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. But yeah, and we're looking to remodel as a totally different business. So we're not looking to open the attraction. We're now looking to open as what we're going to call a safe social space. So we've got big outdoor areas, we've got big indoor spaces that we can use if the weather's not good, and we will create a really interesting model of social distancing within that space.
But that's a really interesting point, Rick. And I hear a lot of my clients, a lot of my associates are saying, you know, Ryan, it's taken whilst this has been a horrendous time, and it's put us through a huge emotional roller coaster and a huge personal cost. It's given though businesses time to think about how they want to re-emerge, what's important to them, how they come out of this as a very different business. And what you've just articulated is really interesting. I'd like to explore that with you a bit further. So what in your mind, Rick, drove that decision to start thinking less as an attraction, but more as a meeting space?
Well, I just think, you know, lots of what we do, you know, we might be able to open a roller coaster at some stage. You know, attractions deal in bulk people. You know, we make money in the summer, in the school holidays, with thousands of people visiting. And that's really not viable. So, you know, the model that we were looking at, we've got huge amounts of outdoor space. We have 9 sets of hand washing facilities on the site. You know, we have a distillery that was making hand sanitizer early on in the game. We looked at some of the risk points, which were some of our fire doors, and we've actually developed a no hands door opener. So an opener that you open the doors with your foot. So we developed some for here on site, and now we're producing them and selling them hither and thither.
Wow.
We looked at using the big outdoor spaces that we've got. So we bought an outdoor stage. So we've got about 5 acres of field that we're going to socially space with 50 picnic tables, outdoor stage. So we do sort of in the morning there, maybe there's going to be children's entertainment. In the afternoon there'll be some music or something playing, and then maybe in the evening, you know, there'll be a DJ doing some stuff, maybe some comedians, maybe some singers. So totally different. You know, we already have a brewery and a distillery on site, so we've got the beer and the gin. It just need the space to sell it. So we've never opened in the evening before. It's, you know, it's a whole different model. We're looking at, you know, morning sessions, afternoon sessions, and then an evening session. And if we can only open for a few months in the summer, then that's what we're trying to do to maximize income.
So it sounds to me, Rick, as if there's been a huge amount of planning that's gone into having to run, you know, what is a very successful business in North Devon differently, and you've had to think quite carefully about how you build in all of those government guidelines around the social distancing to help your visitors and your guests feel safe. And one of the things that Rich and I have warbled a lot about in the last few weeks and months has been this piece around that if people feel safe when they are consuming a product, whether that be going out for the day or buying something online or whatever they're doing, the reality is that experience will be a lot better. So talk to me about how, when you've been redesigning the way you bring people back to the Big Sheep, how has the customer experience weighed on your mind to make sure that they get a great experience when they come?
I mean, it's totally different. We're billing it as the Big Sheep, but not as you know it. So right. When people come to visit, you know, it's going to be totally different. There's going to be a new reception area. We're moving a big marquee then we can do a big queuing area where the marquee used to be. We're building a new reception area. We've got thermal cameras to do fever sensing when people come in, which is just been speaking about this morning, and that should be going in the next couple of days. We're looking to one-way the site, so we've got we're using some of the sheep access that they've been using that we're not obviously using, so that's going to be changing. And we're also trying to make sure that there's humour involved as well. So we've got a great idea was we're making up some stencils for the floor so we can do all our floor signs by spraying it on the concrete and the tarmac. And the one-way system has no U-turns, one way only. We've got a no flocking sign to make sure that people keep 2 meters. But the difficulty really is, we spend a lot of time trying to design it, and then, within the last few days, they've been talking about whether they reduce the distance to 1.5 or 1 meter, and it massively changes the model. The reason we're doing what we're doing is if you can't open all the restaurants and pubs, then we're going to provide a safe space. But if they then open all of those, it obviously changes the dynamic again. And looking to, continually redevelop and readapt is really, that's where the challenge has been over the last sort of weeks and months. But we are getting into it now. I mean, lots of the outdoor attractions, the zoo's obviously open on Monday. Not sure when this is going out, but some of the others might have opened by then. We've got the gardens already open. Rosemore, RHS Rosemore's open. I've been speaking to one of the operations director at RHS Wisley as well about what they're doing, trying to looking at their signage and their messages. But for me, it's going to be as much about customer perception. So they need to feel that it's safe. There will be people that don't really mind, that don't take all this seriously. But for those of them that do, we need to make sure that we've got space. So we're looking at some really fun ideas. We're looking at conferencing tables, 6-meter tables, so that people are 2 meters apart when they sit one side and the other. We're looking at circles of trestle tables. So you put 3 trestle tables in a circle. So everyone's at least 2 meters apart. They've got 3 or 4 couples can sit at one of our circular table settings, and they can sit and drink beer, safely 2 meters apart. So in some of the big buildings that we've got, we're looking to put these table settings in. So we've got a 60-foot by 135-foot building that will take 80 people, safely distanced. So, we've got big outdoor areas, but we've got a couple of these, where we're going to, we can cope for 200 people. In our indoor show arena, again, we don't think that we're going to open that, but if they reduce the distance, we might be able to. And trying to mitigate the differences, we're like painting sheep on the seats, so that if it's 2 meters, they have to have 2 sheep between each group. And if it's 1 meter, you can only have 1 sheep. So, we're trying to think about all the permutations. But for me, it is about people feeling safe. So we need to be the site that everyone thinks is safe. We've spent thousands of pounds on perspex screens, which are, is a bit of an issue. We're making all our own areas to make sure the staff feel safe as well. Because that's one of the other key areas for me is the team need to be upbeat. They need to be positive. They need to be confident, and they need to feel safe. So unless they feel safe, they're never going to deliver the levels of customer service that we need and expect. And that is absolutely paramount. I know one of the messages that the Balpa have put out was about
There's this whole piece, isn't there, around making sure that your process is, and again I've warned about it for weeks now. Get your process right to make your people feel safe, as you've just pointed out. Your people feel safe, then your customers will feel safe, and it's a real knock-on. And it sounds really simple, but you've just described, Rick. It's blown my mind. The amount of work that you've had to put in, the thought process you put into branding, the safety element of visiting your attraction. The innovative thing around, not 2 meters but 2 sheep, I think is absolutely brilliant. And that's experiences are remembered on memories. And I'm sure we'll all look back on this in, a year, 2, 5, 20 years time and go, do you remember when we went to the big sheep and, the 2 meter rule was 2 sheep, and it just makes a massive difference. One final question, Rick. How are you viewing the future? Are you positive about sort of the next sort of 6-12 months?
No. It's going to be a survival for lots and lots of businesses. We've lost hundreds of thousands of pounds. We'll have to borrow a lot of money. We're going through a very, very difficult time. But, some of us will survive. And I think, the only way to survive is trying to remain positive yourself. And try and make sure that then rubs off on your team, because again, if you're leading from the front, you know, you need to be upbeat and positive. I love the is it Tony Robbins goes, you got to fake it till you make it. You know, if you're not feeling great, you've got to fake feeling great, because your team are going to have to be really upbeat when they're looking after the customers. So it's going to be a long process. I don't know how long we're going to open. We've just been asked to do a big national health party for up to 3,000 people. I don't quite know how they, you know, they've got for all of North Devon Healthcare on the 29th of September. I mean, obviously we've got big outdoor areas, but you know, we're looking to cope with 300 or 400 at a time. So we're reducing our numbers. Everyone's got to be booking online. So we might have a social party for 400 or 500 NHS people at the end of the year, but it's going to be a long winter. It's been a very challenging few months. If we can break even or make a few pounds through the next few months, then that would be a big result for me. We just need to stop hemorrhaging the money, and it's the support and help that we get at the other end. But this is going to be a very changed environment at the other end, and there's going to be a lot of casualties in the process.
Rick, look, I really appreciate your time. I know you're a really busy guy. You've got loads of things on, but I know our listeners will have appreciated you sharing your thoughts, will have appreciated sharing, you know, how you are getting your business back up on its feet, and they'll take a lot of solace and maybe some tips from that. And you know, I and the wider Insight 6 family and all our listeners wish you all the very best, as we do all of our tourism colleagues out there. You know, we look after a number of tourism businesses ourselves, and you know, we wish them all the very best. And yeah, let's fingers crossed that you get at least a bit of a bite of the cherry at the back end of this summer. So thank you for your time, Rick. I really appreciate it, and all our love and best of luck.
All right, take care. Thanks, Ryan.
What did you think of Rick's warblings then, Rich?
It's fantastic. I mean, the man's very candid in what's going on, and that's a really interesting thing to be able to do and let people know. So, you know, we all thank him, as you did, for being so open and honest about it. And the two things that struck me really were the two words that came from Rick were uncertainty and safety. And the uncertainty of the here and now and everything changing on a regular basis. He spoke about that initially. So from a business point of view, it's really interesting to hear that people are still really uncertain about what's going on. People might say, well, it's not a surprise. Well, it can be, because we've been through it for a number of weeks now, and people get used to things and they think that, well, it's okay, everybody's getting used to it. But you know, businesses aren't. We know that. And uncertainty of the customers coming back as well, particularly for those hospitality sector who haven't yet been able to reopen. You know, they're seeing other people reopen and the business coming back. Okay, it's not going to be exactly the same. It never is again, I don't think. But they're still waiting for their moment. So there's an uncertainty around that. And then the safety piece that we spoke about last time, about, you know, talking about the teams feeling safe, because when they feel safe, they can do a great job, and then the customers feel more comfortable and confident and safe. So those are the two things that came out of it for me. I don't know about you. What was your sort of your learning? I know you mentioned a couple of times on the video a couple of things, but what was your take out there?
Yeah, you know, just to really re-echo what you say, you know, Rick's candidness, the challenge he's had, the whole piece around trying to keep his team safe. And the other thing that came out for me is, you know, how he's had to diversify. You know, how he's thought through that, keeping safe, and his no handle doors business that he's, you know, created on the back of that, and has had a huge amount of interest. But you know, he was very candid about the fact that was a choice that they had to make. But you know, the overriding thing was, you know, he's done all this work, and you know, at a touch the government could turn around and say it's not 2 meters, it's a meter, and then he's got to go back and do all that work again. So you know, best laid plans and all that, I think, is a businessman, particularly in the, you know, reopening the attractions on, you know, on the 4th of July, is, I think there'll be pent up demand for it, because people have been in, and you know, he talked about having to book on, coming to the morning, the afternoon and evening session, you know. So he's really had to think through how his guests are going to feel safe when they're there. But principally, the key bit for me, Rich, probably the bit I'd leave it on, is how he's trying to make his team feel safe. You know, and he's got this no pull doors thing in, but he's also using our COVID safety tracker, the team tracker to make sure he's getting that feedback, because he's really clear that if they've got an issue, they can deal with it really quickly.
Yeah, I think you can tell the difference when you're at the experience you receive as a customer. The places that I've been yesterday when the non-essential retailer reopened, you can see the difference in the way businesses have been interacting with their staff, because there's a different feeling about the staff. They're more upbeat. They want to be able to help. They want to be interacting and engaging. Whereas with certain businesses, that might not be quite the case. They're missing that little bit of difference, which is going to retain your customers, keep those loyal customers even more loyal to you, and attract new customers. And that's one of the key things. So team safety, absolutely got to focus on. I think those are our top tips for today, isn't it? Make sure you understand how your teams really feel with something like the team checker, but also, are you still asking your customers how confident they are to actually come back to your store, your stores, your establishment, your hospitality provision, what you provide for people from that side of things. So those are the key things from my point of view, and I think those are the key things that will make a difference to lots of hospitality providers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So huge thank you to Rick Turner. If you're up in North Devon, go along and see his attraction. He'd love to see you. But another great Warble. I'm going off for a pint of cider now.
I was going to say, you've got to go for a cider.
Yeah, 5 minutes. It's
take it easy.
4:04.
Well, I've been Richard Knight.
I've been Ryan Huxtable. See you all again soon.